Hello everyone, this is Danny Bryant and I am being joined by Adrian King and Opal as our additional panelists. I want to welcome you to our webinar to discuss the ODTUG GeekAthon 16. Looks like we've got a good number of people joining in, and so the purpose of this particular session is just to introduce everybody to the event, the competition, and allow you all to ask questions as we go through this. I do have one of those "are there any questions" at the end slide, so we can also have some time at the end. I don't expect this to last the full hour, so we'll give you some time back at the end, but I just wanted to say thank you for joining and participating, and we hope to have a really good first annual GeekAthon competition. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing is what is this GeekAthon? Let me give you a little bit of history. At Kscope 16, we decided to start introducing a little more technology into the event, and we coordinated with a company that used beacon technology with what we call Bluetooth Low Energy, or BLE, is what you'll see in some of the documentation. And what it allowed us to do was we stuck a little thing to the back of the participants' IDs, their name tags, and what it allows us to do is get an idea of how our participants were moving through the conference in the event areas as well as through the sessions. That gave us counts of how long the average stay was in a session, the number of people, where people tended to congregate as it related to the conference, and you know, we thought that was pretty interesting. We started seeing the information, and so throughout that, excuse me, I want to welcome Sam Hetchler. He's a panelist, just joined us. As a matter of fact, I was getting ready to mention Sam. So we ended up having a conversation about what else could these beacons be used for, and between Opal and myself, decided to see if we could do a competition and invite our Kscope attendees as well as our ODTUG family to participate in this GeekAthon, to where we're saying take those beacons that you have, peel them off the back of your ID, and see if you can invent something cool with them, repurpose them, make something new, hack them, identify problems that can be solved using this technology, something like this near-field communication type stuff, to where you're able to just do something neat and cool and just keep engaged with some of the latest things that relate to through the Internet of Things. How do you just be creative with the technology that we're using in our conferences, and how we extend that out to beyond the conference to continue to have people engaged with ODTUG, the Kscope conference, so on and so forth. So as the bottom of the slide says, take these things and go build something. The competition, we have 5 judges: Kellen Poivin-Gorman, Jake Terrell, Adrian Ping, who's on the call, Sam Hetchler, who's on the call, and then myself. I'm at the bottom because of all of these. I'm the least likely to. I'm like a pretend maker. The rest of these people, they really do the stuff for real. So we've got a good group of people that can answer questions for you, as well as are very qualified to assess these projects that we all have and that you all will be submitting over the course of the competition, which is scheduled to last for about 6 to 8 weeks. So in that, I'm sure everybody wants to know, how are we going to score this? And so we've got a couple different categories: creativity, innovation, purpose. And what we're looking for here is for you to come up with that story with, hey, I've got this problem and I've got this solution, and here's a cool way to do it using the beacons, using these iBeacons that were attached to your badges. And so how innovative are you with that? And all of these, they're weighted, and we'll be publishing those the scoring criteria a little bit later in some other documentation, but just wanted you to have initially an idea of what we'd be looking for. Very important is documentation, code, schematics, diagrams, because we want this to be a learning experience for everyone. We want people to be able to take your your inventions and your ideas, and be able to go back and recreate those in their in their environments at home, something cool for them to share with their coworkers, their friends, their family. And so the documentation part is actually very important to us. So we want these to be recreatable. We want these to be things that people can learn from. Because we're all about, as you know from Case Cook, we're all about learning, and so we want to continue that theme throughout this competition. So again, documentation, documentation, documentation. Important dates. Registration will be open for the first 2 weeks of August. So we'll open that up on the 1st of August, and it will run through the 15th. You should be able to submit your sessions by September 23rd, and these are Pacific Standard Time, so we give you all the way out to when it's midnight in California. The judging will occur in October, and then we will announce the winner sometime mid-October, and we'll have some way to get around and sharing that with you and publishing the winning projects as it relates to the competition. And so we talked, and some questions came up. It's like, well, how do I do it? What am I going to do? I don't know how to do this, but it sounds interesting. And so this is just one website that has things on it that that are interesting and can help you with your project. SparkFun is the website, and some of the technology that have been thrown around as we and I want to welcome Jake. Jake, a panelist, has also joined us. He's a judge as well. So it's how do we take these microcontrollers, these little small computers everybody has heard of. I know people have heard of Raspberry Pis and Arduino boards, and then there's a little small picture, so if you don't know what that beacon was, that's what it looks like that was stuck to the back of your ID in the picture there. And so these are just ideas. So these are taking some small microcontrollers, programming them, having them do something interesting and neat with the beacon technology. Obviously, we're not saying you have to use these particular boards, but these are just some ideas that people have bandied back and forth as to ways that they can interact with the beacon itself and be able to find something fun and useful to grab from the data that's coming off of the beacon. And we've got a small link in our in a blog post that will point you to a Beacon 101 YouTube video. But to give you just a little background, the beacons themselves, so they have a little small plastic case, have a battery in them, and what they do is they make an announcement. They say, hey, here I am, and there's some information that's been coded into that announcement that receivers, and if you're at Kscope, you may have noticed these little beige brick-like boxes in the corners of some of the conference rooms and some of the breakout session rooms. Well, those are the receivers. And so those are grabbing that information coming from these beacons and recording those to allow us to gather metrics on participation, as I mentioned earlier, in our sessions, in the in our Sunday symposiums, in the breakout sessions, for information for our vendors that allow them to get them to understand the value that they're getting, from Kscope. So that's the technology. These things have a broadcast range, and I'll give you something that Sam put together that works out and tells you about how far these things broadcast. And I'm sure over the next few weeks, as we continue to push out information about this, we'll have some other documentation that will allow you to get a better feel for what these things are, resources that you can go look up and learn more about these as we move along. And so again, not saying go use an Arduino board, but you do need to use the beacon. So these are just some ideas that we wanted to put in front of you. This website, www.sparkfun.com, has a bunch of cool stuff on it, and you might find something interesting there. But there are a ton of different ways to implement solutions for your ideas using these beacons. And so on to what we were talking about. So stuff like this, Sam put together a mechanism by which he was able to test the broadcast range, and I'm going to put him on the spot and see if he can talk to us just a little bit about this and to share with us what exactly this is demonstrating and how people can take this information and use it as part of their solution. So Sam, if you're there, I'll let you have it for a bit. And I can't hear you. Okay. Sam having some issues with the mic. Okay. Well, all right. So he's going to call in for us. So this is probably like my next to last slide. So let's give him a. We'll go through the rest of the slide, and then when he gets on, we'll pop back over to this and let him talk a little bit about some information that he's gathering. So right now, I want to open it up for any questions and comments. First, if we will see if any of our panelists want to introduce themselves, and then we will get on into the comments and questions section. So let's go ahead and just start with Adrian real quick.
Hi everybody. I'm very honored to be one of the judges for this competition. My name is Adrian. I work with InSum, and I'm particularly interested in Apex and doing all of these geeky stuff. I've been playing around with Arduino and stuff like that for quite some time, but more recently I think my interest lies with 3D printing as well. So, well, I do encourage everybody to take part and have fun. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, Adrian. Jake, I see you next on my list here.
Sure. My name is Jake Searle, and I'm also a judge for the GeekAthon. Very, very excited about that. Like many of you, I'm a technology consultant, aspects and planning, but my house is absolutely littered with Arduinos, 3D printers, quadcopters, got a laser cutter on the way. So really, really enjoy the whole maker type of community, and really looking forward to seeing what people can put together with these beacons.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake. Sam's back with us. Sam, can you introduce yourself, and then we'll pop back to that previous slide and let's discuss that a bit.
Sounds good. Does the mic work better now than it did before?
Yes, that's awesome.
Okay. So my name is Sam Etchler. I work for a power company in Denver, Colorado called Tri-State Generation and Transmission. I am a maker and just general enthusiast of the possibility of what these things can do. I love seeing proof of concepts. I love seeing, if you go through all my random posts of things, I really like to see demonstrated proof of concepts and pushing the capabilities of what can be done with all this hardware and software. So as this picture right here that Danny's showing, I whipped this up today from some data points from yesterday. And this was using my Samsung Note 5, no special setup with it. I took data points at every 10 centimeters, and I wanted to demonstrate what kind of effective range we would be looking at with these beacons. The beacon was unmodified, unamplified, no reflective device on the back side of it, so it should have been transmitting all around. We had some discussions on whether the reported range of 1.5 meters was actually accurate to what we were seeing, and I had said that I had seen the beacon at a much further range. And when I was collecting these data points at every 10 centimeters, I noticed that although the signal strength was jumping around, I tried to find where it settled. And so at about 1.5 meters, that's really where things start to flatten out. And I can provide the actual numbers if you want, but really taking a look at that regression line that's on the bottom right side of each graph, that will tell you what the slope that I was seeing was. And the reason that there's the two of them right there is in the top left you see all data points and then 0 meters omitted. When I put my phone on top, I mean, the only time that we should be able to see a signal strength that large is quite literally if the beacon is on top of the receiver. And so the R-squared value for you statisticians right there tells the confidence level of the regression line to the data points that are there. And the regression line on the all data points sitting at about 9.48 is really, really high to begin with, but by dropping the data point there at the 0, getting it all the way up to 0.97 is absolutely fantastic. My data points for my Arduino clone are a little sporadic at the moment, and my laptop battery was dying while I was testing, so I couldn't really write it down. So I'm going to revisit that and go get some additional information there. But yeah, at about 1.5 meters and less, you should be able to determine your range within that.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Sam. And then finally, I do want to go back and allow Opal Alapat, who was my co-conspirator at Kscope in this whole endeavor, to have an opportunity to introduce herself. If she can do that, I appreciate it. And then we'll open it up for questions.
Hey everybody, this is Opal. I'm very excited about this initiative. A couple of things that I wanted to point out. First of all, I'm not a judge. I'm definitely a maker wannabe. I do have a Raspberry Pi though, but unfortunately it's collecting dust. So one of these days when I get some quote free time, I will have the ability to actually look into making. So my job is really just to kind of coordinate. We're coming up with the rules right now, all the very detailed rules, the specific scoring system, coordinating the judges and just trying to make sure that it all works behind the scenes with my cohort, Lori. So if you guys have any questions about stuff like that, you're absolutely welcome to send them our way. The other things that I wanted to point out about this cool competition is this is the first time that we've ever done this, so we have no idea how this is going to go. We don't know how many people are going to sign up for it, but we're just so excited to be able to do something as different and outside of the box with ODTUG backing us like this, because we know that there are a lot of ODTUG folks who are makers, but we've never really had the opportunity to kind of come together as a community. So we're really excited to bring this out there and just to kind of understand if there's interest in this area. As you guys may know, Oracle has recently released an Internet of Things cloud service, and so that kind of ties in nicely. And there are some other Oracle technologies like Apex that also tie in nicely with this type of technology. So just a couple of things I wanted to mention. Danny did a great job of doing an overview. In case you guys are wondering, yes, there will be prizes. We will absolutely award the top 3 winners after the judges have decided based on the point system. So there are going to be some actual tangible prizes, but that is still to be determined. In addition, if you guys are just, kind of attending this webcast to see if this is for you, I can tell you right now that if you're just unsure and you're like, I don't know how to start this, I don't know what to do with the beacon, no fear, because we are going to have some 101 sessions that we're also really excited to present. There are going to be some 101 sessions. We're trying to line up the presenters right now. But I do know already that Jake, for instance, is going to do a whole session on the basics of 3D printing, in case you guys want to use that somehow with your beacon. So there are going to be some great 101 sessions to kind of help you guys along the way. We're hoping to cover a variety of topics, including some Oracle topics to help you get started. In addition, we will have open talking sessions called Luncheon Geeks, which are going to be sessions where if you're stuck, you're not really sure what to do, maybe you need a nudge, what we'll do is we'll just have open forums, which will be coming up later in the contest, probably on Fridays, or you can just show up and we'll have some of the judges and or other makers in the community also show up to kind of help you along. So just a couple of things in case, again, you're just not sure. We're so excited about this. We want to get as many people involved as possible, and people from all walks of life. So if you guys haven't read the blog post, we really encourage families to get involved. So as long as one of the people is an ODTUG member, either free or paid, feel free to make it a family project or make it a project with your friends. But, we just want to encourage creativity and, of course, knowledge sharing and knowledge learning. So that's it for me. What I do want to say is it's time to open it up for questions. So if you have any questions, please put them into the chat panel, and one of us panelists will monitor it and answer your question. Thanks, Danny.
Well, thank you, Opal.
One note that I also wanted to say is that the chart that Danny had is, I posted that to my Twitter account and it was retweeted around. So if anybody is looking at that, go ahead and look for it and you should be able to find it.
Okay, so yeah, so we'll hang around for a bit to see if there are any questions. Yeah, remember, just put them in the chat window, and we will get those answered for you.
Oh, and one more thing. I think we're tentatively aiming for Monday to be the actual website reveal. So hopefully on Monday, if you go to competition.odtug.com, you will see all of the details for the contest revealed there, including all of the very specific rules, all of the legal stuff. If you guys want to start signing up, there will be a form for you to do that. And then that website will be updated as we go along, obviously because we don't know what the prizes are yet, so things like that will get updated to the website as soon as possible.
All right, I'm going to ask a question since since we don't really have any right now. What if I don't have a beacon or I did not go to Kscope? What can I do? How can I participate in this?
So Danny, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to answer that, but I'll be happy to.
Sure.
Yeah, so we do not want to exclude people who weren't able to attend Kscope. We want to include as many people as possible. So if you were not able to attend Kscope 16, we have a beacon for you. It will be in your sign-up form. There will be a question that will ask whether or not you have your own beacon. And if you don't, we'll be happy to send you a beacon as well as a replacement battery, one per signed up individual or team.
Awesome, thank you. Leave it there. I'm going to give it just another minute or two to see if there's anything. It doesn't look like there are any questions. So, oh, we've got a question. Just give us a second so we can. Okay, I'll read this question. Do we have to use that beacon or can we get our own? I.e., if I want a waterproof beacon, I can get my own somewhere. Is that okay? That's a good question. And go ahead, Opal.
So here is what we have decided. Because this year, this is specifically related to Kscope 16, you have to use the Kscope 16 beacon at a minimum in your solution. So if you want to add additional beacons, absolutely allowed to do that. But the Kscope 16 beacon signal specifically has to be used somehow in the final solution.
I would also like to throw in the idea for you, Karen, that the beacon can be modified for sure, but also remember that any sort of water greatly diminishes the effective range. So I am kind of curious, like, are you trying to do something underwater, or are you just trying to do something outdoors? So think of that, and then also, like what Opal said, you can make it so that it actually works with the ODTUG beacon, but then also works with other beacons as well.
All right, thank you for that question. That was a good one. So the response wants to use it outdoors.
So Karen, to answer your idea there, I think that in the beacon would not be able to transmit far enough to know whether he's really far out and away, but it would know whether or not your tracked object, your husband in this case, is actually in range of whatever, like, listener device, be it your phone or an Arduino or sky's the limit, would be there on the beach.
All right, so we have another question here. If someone missed this webinar, where can they see the recording afterwards?
That's a good question. We will definitely make it available publicly. I'm not entirely certain exactly where that's going to be, but more than likely it's going to be a location somewhere on the ODTUG website. We'll probably send out a link. We'll find out and definitely let you guys know. It will be on the ODTUG website by tomorrow. So we will, for anybody who attended this, we'll specifically send out a special email to you to let you know where to find the recording, and then we'll probably also send out something publicly for anyone who missed the recording.
Well, okay. It looks like it's actually right at 1:30, and I don't see any more questions up coming by. So before we get off, we got one comment from Sam. So
I guess I was wanting to toss the idea and question out of, like, not getting into anything too specific, but any thoughts or ideas of uses of these beacons at a high level, obviously not the specifics, but Anything that we can toss out as inspiration or the other way around? I mean, the use of tracking somebody out on a workout. There's a fair number of people at my work that at lunch go ride their bikes, and so I have debated putting out a whole fleet of my Arduino clones at the corners that they would go by. There's a really good 2-mile circuit around this gigantic block that I'm on, and have my have the Arduinos report back when they go by them, to do a mixture of things. To make sure that they actually reach those checkpoints, but then also for timing, so that they can track their time over a long period of time, over weather conditions, what have you. So I mean, that was one of the ideas of inspiration to pass around.
I can tell you a fun one that I thought about when we first thought about the GeekAthon, and if someone steals it, that's totally okay, by the way. But I have dogs, and I often wonder where they go during the day. So I was thinking about, what if I set up receivers in some of the hotspot areas of my house, and then I was able to track the area that they stay in the most during the day. Just, it's not really like a major business problem to solve, but it's kind of interesting and important to me personally.
Right, and I was just right before the call, not sticking them on the pets, but sticking them on my kids, and kind of finding where they spend most of the time if it's not in front of the TV, and also when they get ready to come up and interrupt me when I'm working, to automatically close and lock my door.
That's hilarious.
If anybody has kids, they definitely know how to time it.
And piggybacking off of what Danny said, my kid, she's 4 years old, and based off of the proximity tests that I've done, maybe something where if my kid gets too close to the TV, it just turns off the TV itself. My DVR and stereo will still keep going, but I mean, you look over and you see the kid like staring a foot away from the TV, and just have something there so that it turns off every time she gets too close.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then another thing is, these beacons can also track like how long, or the receivers can also track like how long someone is in an area, right? Is that right, Sam?
Kind of. So the beacons are actually transmitting at a pretty they're transmitting pretty frequently from my testing, and so what you would need to do, so in your case, or either of you guys tracking your dogs and or kids, so I was thinking about, I have 5 Arduinos that are immediately capable of listening to these beacons. And so if I put them in strategic places in the house, as long as they hear every time these beacons transmit, I should be able to triangulate where they were, similar to like the conference type stuff. And so although the beacons themselves, they don't listen for anything and they don't track anything, if you're listening while it's transmitting and those listening devices are in a fixed place, you should be able to do a heat map over time of where they were.
Because I was thinking that another use case while you guys are talking about your kids is, a gaming console can usually be considered in a fixed place if it's attached to a TV. So maybe, if your children are playing on video games for more than a certain amount of time, maybe you get a notification that lets you know that, so you can take action.
And there it would be interesting because the game controllers themselves actually, at least modern ones, are also using the Bluetooth 4.0 protocol. So the controllers shouldn't be on unless they're actively being used. So there's a variety of things that you could track there. Putting the beacons on the controllers themselves would be a little noticeable. But certainly other things like, I mean, shoot, throwing one of these on your TV remote so you can finally find it. So that's certainly an option.
Nice. Well, it doesn't appear as though we've had any more questions come in, but I hope that the discussion that we've just had, at least some inspiration and ideas, will get our potential participants, competitors, thinking about ways in which they can utilize these beacons. And so I am, unless we have any more questions, it is now 11, but it is 1:35, and you know, we'll go ahead and give, you know, as most people say, we'll go ahead and give you back part of your day. I thank everybody for joining, and definitely thank all our panelists for the discussion and the ideas. And again, this webinar will be available by tomorrow, and we'll send out an email. And using social media, we'll also distribute the links to this webinar and any of the additional information that we come up. Feel free to email us, and you know, have a great afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and thank you to the panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.